over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. I guess that's the intro, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and good evening and welcome to Saturday night. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you are now entering the Paranormal Portal. So welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you've had a great weekend thus far and a great Saturday. I had a really good Saturday, really busy day. Just family stuff to start out with, and then Don and I went out doing some investigating and had a great time and really explored some really neat places. But here we are. It is our Saturday evening show, and we are thrilled you're here to share it with us. So before I go any further, though, let me welcome and introduce my good friend and co-host to the show, Mr. Don Longbeard.
And it is me.
It is you.
And I is here.
Yes, you are.
And we are not hitting the ground running today. We just kind of eased into it, and we'll just fly right through this thing and make it a good show.
Yeah, it was actually a full intro this time, ladies and gentlemen.
I
actually had time to put the intro video roll and roll right into it in a relaxed pace without the panic and the raised blood pressure and all that other stuff like last night. But last night's show worked out okay. It was still a fine deal and a great discussion and some great participation from you guys out there. So thank you all for helping to make every show great. Of course, you guys out there listening are you are the reason we do it. I mean, you guys are the reason we come on here and do our bestest every time to bring you the best show we can, because we want you to walk away feeling that you've been entertained. And if we're not doing that, then be sure to call the Wednesday complaint line.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you can only call it on Wednesday nights from 7 till 10 p.m.
Yeah, otherwise we're not available.
Yeah, no. The number you see on if you're watching on YouTube, you see a number on your screen, and of course, for those of you listening at home, without looking at us on the YouTube screen, you can call on Friday and Saturday nights and take part in the Paranormal Portal, and the call-in number is 213-233-3998. Again, 213-233-3998. And you can also call 833-TFR-LIVE if you need a toll-free access number. Both of those will get you to our call board. And you, too, can take part in the fun and excitement that is the portal.
And don't forget, those are the complaint line numbers on Wednesday only.
On Wednesday only, those are the complaint line numbers. But yeah, we hope you walk away from every show feeling like you're a part of something cool, because you are. At the very least, we think you are. So that's what matters most, I think. But if you're calling from the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. Again, 44203-393-2871. And we are here to bring you the best show we know how to do. So tonight we're going to do a show about spirit orbs and other spirit manifestations. And to get right to the crux of the matter, spirit orbs have been reported, as long as people have been talking about ghosts, they've been talking about these weird lights that are out there. Some people see them in forest lands. They've been sighted on old abandoned railroad tracks. There's many phenomena that's kind of attributed to it, but most commonly people believe they are spirits. They are representations of spirit energy. And why an orb? Why is that? Well, I think in nature, outside of our physical form, we have these bodies because I believe, in my opinion, they serve a utilitarian purpose. We're bipedal. We have arms and legs to grab things and to move places, and we have a musculature and a skeleton. But I don't necessarily believe that is our true spiritual form. It's just the form that we've had throughout our entire existence. And perhaps, being an energetic being, as we all are, being an energetic being, does that make any sense?
It works for me.
But, I think that's certainly... we see the sphere is represented all over in nature, in a water droplet, falling from the sky. A raindrop is a sphere. Of course, most of us believe the Earth is a sphere, although there's some people that don't. But we can observe other celestial bodies that are a sphere. Our sun is a sphere. It seems to be the most efficient form for a containment of energy to take. And it seems to be prevalent in all of nature, so why wouldn't it be our true nature as well? Maybe we are just these little balls of energy and light. We're used to moving and existing in these frames that we call our body, but our true sense, maybe we are a spirit. And so maybe that's the most efficient form that a manifesting spirit can take. It's the simplest form. It's a sphere. It doesn't have to manifest an entire body and frame and structure in order to make itself known. So perhaps that's the most efficient energetic form that a spirit could take. But what are these things? What are they? What do they represent? So we believe that they're spirit beings, but there are some people who've reported orbs in nature that, and other people have reported seeing them in nature, but they seem to have another being attached to them, that they manifest into something more, I don't know, impish or whatever. And, there's so many different reports. And we're going to talk about a lot of this tonight, and we're going to talk about, are the colors of orbs important? And Don's going to get into a little bit of that. And apparently it is. It apparently does matter what color orb you're seeing, because that may have a role in providing at least some insight into what it might mean and, what it might be, I guess. But we'll get into all that a little bit later. But right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, we received a couple of emails from MCAT, who is a great friend of the show, and he's been a contributor for a while now. He's a paranormal investigator as well in his life, and so he's bringing some of that to the show so that we can share in that. But first off, I want to bring up a couple of EVPs that he took. These are very quick, they're very brief, but I would suggest that if you have headphones, you get them on. They're only literally a few seconds long each, so it's not like a long EVP. And if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. But they are there. I can hear what he's talking about. Now, for me personally, after listening to these several times, I can't make out what is being said. And, I don't pretend to know what the dialogue was up to that point that it could be responding to. But just taken out of context, these are a couple of EVPs. And so he was gracious enough to send them in. And, of course, I'm honored. And we will play them to you right now. So pay attention, because here comes the first one. Okay, did you hear that? It was like, all right. And that's, I presume, without seeing the video, but I presume he's practicing all of the normal best practices, and that when you're doing EVPs, either you set it down or you make sure to hold absolutely still and sit still during this with as little ambient noise as possible. And so I, as an investigator, I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing. So I don't believe that that's just some kind of ambient room noise, because, anybody doing EVP should know that you have to remain absolutely still and you have to hold it absolutely steady. So, again, I'll play it again. So, without knowing what was asked, we can make out that there's a sound in there. I can't make out what that word could be, if it's a word or if it's a name or whatever, but it's definitely there. So that's the first one. Very cool. And thank you for sending that in. And here's the second one, and this one's a little bit longer, but again, turn up your volume or get your headphones on to really hear what this one is.
Afternoon, how about that? So I've already caught something.
Okay, so you can hear it in between the afternoon. It said that, and then there's some kind of sound being created in the background. Again, it's very subtle. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with doing EVPs, this is generally what they sound like when you're listening back. I mean, they are usually incredibly subtle in the mix. It's not going to be as loud normally as your voice. They're going to need to be engineered, and they're going to need to be cut and amplified in order to really make out what is being said. But in the form we have, again, I'll play it again.
Afternoon, how about that? So I've already caught something.
So right before he says, so we've already caught something, there's something going on there. And again, it sounds like a whispery kind of voice, but what it says, I can't make it out. But very, very cool. Once again, I'll play it again.
Afternoon, how about that? So I've already caught something.
Very cool. So those are a couple of EVPs. What do you think of those, Don?
Well, I'm not very good with listening to things like that and hearing things. I mean, they've got to be pretty definite for me to hear or understand them. I mean, I hear the first one, and MCAT in chat said he heard all right.
Oh, okay.
And there was somebody else who also said that as well. He also said that his recorder is set down. He's not holding it.
Okay, so he's not holding the recorder, and so again, that's the best practices. It's best not to be holding it, but if you have to, make sure that you have a real steady grip and you're not rubbing your fingers around on the recorder or making any motions with it, like talking with your hands, like, what are you guys doing out there? Because
like,
but you don't want to be a hand talker and trying to get EVPs. Not a good mix. So he's leaving it set down, and if it is indeed saying all right, that makes sense. I have no idea what the context that it's responding to in either of them, as they're both cut out of an existing dialogue, but very cool. And thank you so much for sending those in and making them a part of the Paranormal Portal. That's really cool. Now, he also sent in a story from when he was during one of his active cases. So I'm going to bring that to you next. Nice. I know. It's just the gift that keeps on giving here. So.
Lady Death says ribbon dancing with the recorder.
Yeah, you don't want to hold it like a pair of nunchucks and what's that? So I'm just saying. But all right, so here's another story from my ghost hunting past. The team was sent out to investigate a house in central Iowa. We were central Iowa based after all. A small family lived there in this home, and they had an autistic child who would complain about a monster that lived in the tree that was next to his bedroom window, and that the monster would tell him things. The house was well built and in good condition, and there was a large tree next to the boy's bedroom window. As the investigation progressed, there wasn't a lot of activity that night except for one thing. Our archivist had taken a break from watching the monitors, and when she came back, she said there was a real weird feeling from one of the rooms upstairs. I responded with, yeah, let's check it out, and then proceeded to go up the stairs. I walked to the end of the hall, and sure enough, one of the rooms had a very strange feeling. The atmosphere was heavy, and it felt like something very aggressive was very angry. I was in the room, and a feeling that puts you on edge, ready to fight or run. I turned to our archivist and said, this is the room, isn't it? And she said yes, and it was the boy's room next to the tree. We stayed for a moment trying to define the feeling for the log, and just like that, it went away, and everything went back to normal. A few weeks later, the team leader did a smudging there. He recorded one EVP during this, and we always run audio anytime we are in contact with a client. The EVP was a woman's voice that said, I won't leave.
Oh.
Now, I know how this looks, but It was the opinion of the team that this spirit was not the one causing the problems. This was a guardian, maybe a relative of the, and the message would be, I won't leave because I'm the last line of defense. Now, I did email MCAT back again and say, well, how did this work out? Did the activity subside, or was the problem taken care of? And he responded, yeah, that he believed that everything was quiet after that it was successful. So,
Nice.
very cool story. And autistic children can, they really can pick up on things because they have such a different attention cycle. And I think that they're ultra sensitive. I really do.
I do too.
I think they really pick up on energy quite a bit, because that's one of the ways that they process things in lieu of the normal cognitive functioning, or the normal type of cognitive functioning, so that they become extra sensitive to energies. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that the kid picked up on this, not only just being a child anyway, but very cool stories. And thank you so much for sending them in.
Absolutely.
That was outstanding, and it's always wonderful to hear you guys sharing your experiences. Now, Don, let me ask you, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but did you hear like a under the audio in your headphones at all? In any of this intro so far?
No.
Okay, twice I heard this like that in my earphones. So
It might have been me grumbling. I do that occasionally.
or gas. It could be.
Yeah, with my belly.
It might be a
It's like good
those
food we
weird throat gurgles or something. But yeah, I don't know what it was.
Could have
It's
been.
just like
Could have
well, I just want to make sure
Bodily
whether or not you
functions.
heard something. I'm not claiming it was paranormal. I'm just claiming I heard something in my earphones and I didn't understand what the hell it was. So weird stuff, but it could be just normal weird, not paranormal weird. But anyway, we are going to continue on our journey here and talk about these spirit orbs and stuff. So again, getting to the discussion, is the orb the most efficient, energetic shape that a spirit can take? It seems to me that it probably is. Now, what I do notice, and before we go too far with this, if you spend any time at all in a lot of paranormal groups online, and I'm not putting anybody down. I just want to right up front just say I think that people's interest in the paranormal is outstanding, because it is the expansion of your universe. I mean, your universe expands by considering the paranormal and look at the possibilities that are there. So I don't ever mean to put anybody down, but you'll see photographs out there, and the photographs will have these little dots of light in them. And, of course, the presumption is this is paranormal. This is paranormal. Look at those ghosts. Look at those loved ones coming to see you. Or, what is that? Is that a demonic entity? Or whatever, a conclusion people draw from those. Now, it was a while back, and it was actually during Beyond the Veil. Chris and Cherie had a guest on there who was a paranormal investigator. And I should try to find out who this gentleman was, because he was really, really good and really, really interesting. And he talked about the advent and the explosion of orbs in photographs. And back, during the traditional film cameras days, there were orbs showing up then. And they, of course, were pretty phenomenal. Some of them were explainable because lens flares have been around forever. Now, what a lens flare is whenever you're using a flash or having any kind of illumination, if anything reflects that back, it'll do it in what looks like a little orb. You'll see these little flashes of light. And sometimes it can be displaced from the visible flash of light. Like you'll see a shiny surface, and then you'll get these residual dots. That's just the path of the light as it's hitting the sensor. It's not paranormal. It's just the way that works. But those kind of photographs, while they did happen, and when they were explainable, of course, people explained it as being a light reflection. But when it was the advent of the digital camera, where suddenly there are orbs everywhere, and it has to do with what the person says. It's if you correlate the number of orbs and photos that are claimed to the advent of the digital camera and how they just skyrocketed and went just through the roof with the number of orb photographs out there, that it's probably more a function of the digital camera with the CMOS sensors and how they pick up the light versus how film would capture the light. So it's a different mechanical process, and the the investigator believed that actually has a lot to do with it. And that made sense to me because when I was little, of course, I've said many times, I would, go to the library and get every book I could on the paranormal. And of course, spirit photographs and ectoplasm would come up all the time. And there would be these weird photos, and a lot of them were darkroom fabrications. It is possible to fabricate on film too. It's a little more mechanical process, but you can do a lot in the darkroom, more than you guys think. But, with the advent of digital photography, there was just this real spike in the amount of photos coming out with these loved ones on them. And again, I'm not putting anybody down, but I think it's important to look at all the factors in the phenomenon if you're going to address it. And while I love the idea of thinking of these things being out there and these fact that these spirits are making themselves manifest, I think that a lot of them are, a lot of wishful thinking. What do you think, Devin?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree because, I've seen some pictures and, people say, oh, look, there's like 100 orbs in there. No, that's dust. That's light reflecting off dust floating around in your room.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. And, so it really brings into question, because the people who debunk us the most are ourselves. Because, sometimes we want to believe so much that in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, that we want to believe so much that we see things where there isn't things.
Right.
That's like I was driving down the road one night probably on the way home from a show, and I took a picture out of my front window, and somebody asked me, what are all those spots? What are all those dots? It's like, well, it's my dirty windshield.
Yeah. That's where the bugs used to be.
I've seen, weird lights. I'll admit that. I've seen weird lights in the nighttime and things like that, but nothing I would contribute, I don't think, to anything spiritual. But of course, I do want to check out the corner of 95 and Coburn Covert sometime.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm really excited to
see
get up
that
there.
one. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But maybe what I need to do is I need to get out with you and check it out, and that way we can bounce off each other, and maybe I'd understand it a little more, and
yeah,
maybe,
well,
I'm accepting of the idea.
Sure. Yeah, so, it's one thing to acknowledge that something is possible, but it's another to actually see it done.
Right. Yeah.
And when we check out 95, with any phenomena that occurs, nothing is ever every night. So we could maybe have to stake that out for a month straight and maybe never see anything.
MCAT says that's a good thing. I think we need more of a peer review of data. So yeah, that would that makes perfect sense.
Right, exactly, and that's the thing though. But the other side of it is that there's so many people reviewing things mean and poorly, to the point that people don't even want to put it out there because they don't want all the crap that comes with it. It's like, I'd love to put this picture of, this apparition in the chair, but I don't need 15 trolls coming in and telling me how stupid I am. And unfortunately, there's too much of that. And there's too many idiots with keyboards, that get their keyboard muscles and they talk about how great they are and how stupid you are. And unfortunately, that's, always going to be a trend online when you share information. But it's right. If you had a group of people that were, kind and helpful and like-minded, then it could be a great thing. It would be a wonderful thing to have that kind of cooperation. And believe me, I've shared this story before on the portal of I was in a Bigfoot group. I'm in many Bigfoot groups, but this is a few years back, and there was a weird picture that somebody caught on a trail cam, and for the life of me, I could not make out what it was. It was just this weird blob of, you could tell it was there. It was in 3 dimensions. It was some kind of hairy thing, but it was just such an odd portrayal of I couldn't place it. And I looked at that picture, and people were looking at it going, oh, no, I don't know what this is. That's really bizarre. There's something weird out in those woods. And I couldn't offer any input on it, but it wasn't until an avid deer hunter looked at that and went, no, dude, what you guys are looking at is the flank of the deer as it's turning and running. And once he said that, it was like, boom, everything lined up, and I could see it clear as day. I was like, God, he's right. It was right there.
The south end of a northbound deer.
Right. That was really it. It was kind of in flight, so it was in like a tuck down, and it was leaping off,
Right.
leaning in towards the incline, and it was the weirdest pose. But once he quantified that, once he explained what it is we were seeing, it was just like, pow, that was it. It was like, wow. So it takes that one person to
Right.
come in and look at things and go, oh no, this is what you're seeing. And, in the same regard, it can also really strengthen your evidence as well, because if you get a bunch of trained eyes looking at it going, no, man, that's weird. There's something weird going on there. It actually strengthens what you're doing too. But,
Right.
then again, everybody wears their heart on their sleeve. This is their pride. If they really believe in something, they want everybody to really believe in it too. So it's a sensitive thing. Now, again, I'm not putting down anybody, and I don't want to ever attack people for believing and having an open mind for things. As I've said on the show, I have seen orbs twice with my naked eye. I've seen weird things in the camera too. Don't get me wrong, but those to me are just inconclusive. I can't prove or disprove what they are. Are you not hearing that weird stuff in the headphones at all? No?
I just yawned.
Well, okay.
I will pay attention next time.
All right. No, it's just the weird timing. It's just like, what is that noise? It's like we're getting bleed through from something else. And I don't have anything else going that I think of. I'm going to turn that channel down.
Yeah, I just hear a little bit of water, a little louder than last night, but
Right.
it's been.
No, that's fine. It's not that, but yeah, just very strange, ladies and gentlemen. And so I've seen it. I know that it exists. I know the phenomenon is real, as I have seen it. So for me, it's not a question of whether or not orbs exist and if they, do appear. I've seen it happen. The jury's in on that one. It's conclusive. However, I think that it's still important to go over material and go over information and share ideas and thoughts, and we can hopefully come to some conclusion or at least leave better informed than we were. So
Right.
we're at about the first break, ladies and
Wow.
gentlemen.
Okay.
So the first half hour's flown by, but when we come back, we'll get into some of this information, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and can participate. But again, the call-in numbers are live tonight, so if you want to be a part of the portal, just call in and let us know what's on your mind, as long as it's paranormal. So we'll be right back. Don't go away for more of the portal coming up in just mere moments. Mere moments. I'm just waiting for the bell. Mere moments. It's coming.
Beer
I don't
moments.
ever know if the bumpers are going to be working or not, so I got to listen with my ears, and now I'm going to be staring at this thing for a second. I don't want to talk into break, but you know what I'm saying?
That's 15 seconds you're going to stare at.
I know it, right? So, anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
There
Oh,
it is. There's the bell. We'll be right back.
This is Elizabeth McCabe, aka Lucky One, Truth Frequency News. I wanted to tell you all about Extendivite from .com. Y'all know.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the next half hour of our show tonight. This is the Paranormal Portal. I am Brent Thomas, and we are here to entertain you. So hurry up and get entertained. This ain't easy up here, you know what I'm saying?
It ain't easy being cheesy.
It ain't easy entertaining all the time, you know what I'm saying?
Dang it. I got to start remembering to take the lid off my bottle. Can't drink through the lid.
First world problems, eh,
I
Don?
know, huh? At least you got a lid for that jug.
Yeah. Yeah, there's kids that don't have lids all around the world. Some people don't have straws, is what I understand. Poor kids.
I'd be okay in California because I don't use I'd poke myself in the eye with the straw anyhow.
Yeah, that's like a lethal weapon in your drink.
Yeah, exactly. go to a fast food joint, tear the lid off it, and just drink right out of the cup like a savage.
Right. Why just beat around the bush? Just go for the throat. Let's just get her done. All right.
Excuse me, do you have any straws or drugs in your car?
Hey, I need a painkiller.
Give me that extra large super duper. Oh my God, I really don't need this drink.
Yeah, never mind. Don't supersize it. Just move on.
Oh goodness. Anyhow, so
Anyway, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is your second half hour of the show, and tonight we are talking about spirit orbs and other spirit manifestations. Now, this will also cover mists and what used to be called ectoplasm. You never hear that term anymore, ectoplasm.
yeah, what happened to it?
Well, I think it kind of went out with the
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters might have been the last use of the word ectoplasm, but I don't know. They call it mists now and other things, I guess.
Okay.
So, or plasma, or whatever they use, but it's just these weird manifestations of spirit energy, and we're discussing what do these things mean. And so, Don, you were going to talk about the colors of these things are rumored to have a meaning. Could you take it from there?
Yeah, sure. So I was, doing research before the show, like I'm supposed to do, and shocked the crap out of my friend Brent over here. He goes, "You're researching a show?
What?
Ooh.
Don, are you doing something productive?
I'm doing it right." Anyhow, so I came across this story, and I'll post the links in both TFR and the YouTube just so you guys can read it. But I'm going to kind of go through it really quickly. And it says, one theory of orbs with different colors is that spirits are manifesting in the best ways they can. In these cases, the colors may also have no meaning at all, or a spirit could be trying to communicate something with the color. Use your own feelings as a barometer to see what you believe the orb and its color means to you. If you're still looking for guidance, here's some common interpretations. Common interpretations. Okay. So, clear. Clear orbs may be a sign of an entity trying to communicate with you. The spirit may be trying to let the living know that some kind of significant event happened in that location and the spirit wants help to move on. White or silver. Spiritually, white or silver is associated with spirituality and connections with the higher source. Some investigators believe that orbs are either white or silver in appearance are an indication that a spirit is trapped on this plane. It may also be a sign the spirit is there to offer protection to people in the area. White energy is typically perceived as highly positive in nature. Black or brown. Spiritually, many feel black or brown colors are associated with lower spirit vibrations or heavy energy. Some people interpret this as evil, although that's not necessarily the case. When black or brown orbs appear, some investigators interpret them as a sign the area may be unsafe or negative in nature. Examine such a place with caution, and if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, leave. Red or orange. From a spiritual perspective, red or orange colors are associated with safety and security, as well as a sense of belonging. While these warm colors are often associated with strong emotion, such as anger and passion, this may not be the case when it comes to ghost orbs. Some paranormal investigators believe red or orange orbs is a sign that an entity has assumed the role of a protector. This could also be someone who was charged in life to keep watch or be a caretaker. Green. In spiritual practice, green is associated with the heart. It's also associated with nature. Green orbs are sometimes thought to be an indication of a presence of a human spirit, as opposed to one that is never was on Earth in human form. Likewise, green orbs may represent love or oneness with nature. Blue. Blue is spiritually associated with psychic energy and truth. It's a very calming color, and many people associate it with spiritual guidance. Some people feel blue orbs are a sign of a calming presence or energy, while others feel they indicate the presence of a spirit guide in the location. Well, that would be interesting. You walk in and see blue orbs in a cemetery. That'd be kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah. Gray or smoky orbs. Gray may indicate depression or spiritual lack, or that it may represent fear or ambivalence. If you see an orb that's this color, it may indicate the presence of a depressed spiritual entity or an entity lacking a spiritual awareness. Smoke, like the color gray, may indicate confusion or trouble. So those are the basic colors.
Wow. What was yellow? Did you get yellow?
You know what?
I think I missed it.
They didn't say yellow. They talked about red and orange, but not yellow. But let me scroll down a little bit here.
Okay.
Okay. Let me scroll down because there's another little quick one. Here it is. Potential meanings of orb colors include, but are not limited to, black, malevolent, blue, dark blue, shy spirit, light blue, tranquil at peace, blue, a medium blue, protection, brown is danger or earthbound, gold is angelic, or unconditional love, green is a healing orb or spirit, lavender, a messenger from God, orange, protection or forgiveness. Now here's one I've not heard. Peach, spirit sent to comfort you. Pink, accepting spirit. Purple, an orb of information. Red, anger or passion. Silver, messenger. Violet, a guide for spiritual matters. White, protection of holy light and power. And yellow, warning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So either of mine were gold or yellow. I don't know what.
Well, gold was
gold
angelic.
was good.
Yeah,
gold
angelic,
was a good one.
Unconditional love. Yellow is warning. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, though. I mean, it could be, hey, watch out for that hole you're about to step in and roll your ankle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Yeah. Or if you're walking through a graveyard, watch out for that ditch. It's about 6 feet deep.
I'm just thinking back to what I saw, and it was like, they were like little suns. So I don't know how I would describe that, like yellow or gold or what. I don't know. But very cool anyway. And so far I'm okay, I guess. So, I guess I'm doing all right. But
yeah.
But very cool. So I'll have to assume they were angelic, and that's a beautiful thing.
There you go. One more quick thing I want to read. It says,
please.
Are orb colors significant? There is no scientific proof to validate the theories orbs are ghosts, spiritism, or spiritual in nature. Additionally, there's no proof the various definitions of what each color represents or signifies is true. The assigning of colors and meanings of orbs are widely accepted by some in the paranormal community, even though it's unclear where these defining attributes originated. Some of the meanings can be traced to the same color significance given to the main chakras of the human body and those associated with auras. So there you go.
Oh, that's really cool. Very cool. And thank you for sharing that. I think that's if that has any meaning or not, I guess like the suggestion was that you have to divine it on your own. But those are some universally held ideas, or at least the most universally held, I guess. As it goes, but very cool. Very
nice,
cool.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of information provides, in my opinion, a grounding.
Right.
So.
And perhaps having that knowledge makes you able to project that out, so that if they are going to appear, they will pick a color that portrays that that significance.
Right.
It'd be nice if everybody knew that, and you know what I mean. It's like when you have knowledge of something. it becomes perhaps the spirits can tell that if they are indeed spirits. I believe they are, but perhaps I believe that they're also quite psychic, and they can pick up those things if we have understanding of something or not, and project that. Because a lot of people, like mediums, and perhaps Deb or Dee or Ian could speak up on this, but I think a lot of the mediums that I've ever heard talk, they say, well, I'm seeing this, and this is my symbol for this. Like I'm seeing a cake, so it means somebody's birthday is coming. That's my symbol for a birthday. So it seems that the spirits are communicating with these people using symbols that they recognize. Or is that translation happening in the receiver?
Right.
That they're getting the message and their brain changes it to something that makes sense. I don't know. And maybe that's where any of those three or any other people that are psychically gifted could contribute some information there.
Right.
Do those symbols, are they something that the spirit communicating picks up and sends to the person knowing they'll understand it? Or is that interpretation or that correlation made in the medium's mind? I don't know. That's something I'm curious about.
Yeah. What is their ability, their what I'm saying. What is their gift picking up, and how does that translate through them? And I bet you, a lot of people will agree, or they'll agree on certain parts, but it's nice to hear if there's a difference, and then be able to make that determination on your own as to what you feel. So I think that's just great.
Yeah, it's just a curiosity, and it's something I certainly can't answer to, but very cool. So having that information, I think, is beneficial, and maybe as I'm reflecting back, I can't make out whether they were gold or yellow. I don't know. I mean, one time I was, it was when I was, I don't know, 23 years old, and the other time was like I was so groggy from just waking up. It's like, oh, there's a spirit orb, weird,
Right.
and all I could think was coffee. I need coffee now.
That can't be what I think it is, because I'm not awake.
It's too early for this spooky stuff. So I don't know. You do what you do, but very cool. Let's get into some of these stories though, and see what you guys think of these. And let's see. This one I thought sounded cool. Red orb in bedroom. Last night I went to bed early. My husband was in the living room, and he stayed up to watch TV, and my son was in the office on his computer. I went to sleep only to be awoken by a red orb. What does red mean again, Don? Sorry.
You caught me off. So it can mean anger.
Okay.
Or passion.
Okay. All right, anger
or passion. And let me scroll up to the other one, though, because I like that one better.
Okay.
Red or orange, safety and security, as well as a sense of belonging.
Okay.
There you go.
So let's see what the rest of the story says and see if that plays into it. The orb was hovering over my bed at about 4 feet above me. It appeared three-dimensional, about 7 inches around. It looked as if it had an up-down weave in the center of it, like two hands interlocking fingers, or an Easter egg design. I became fully awake, and I was not scared by it. I was more curious by it because I felt as if it was checking up on me. I did not have the feeling like it was a spirit, as I have seen shadow people before, and this was nothing like I had ever seen. It did not scare me at all. I looked up at the clock, and it was 9:35 p.m. Once it noticed I was awake, it gently glided up to the ceiling and passed through it, and was gone. My bedroom shades were down, and no light was in the room. This was not car headlights or landscape lighting at all. I sat up and began Googling from my phone, red orb in the bedroom, but found nothing. Today, as I looked up again, I saw a few stories on this website with similar stories. I posted this because I didn't want to be the only one, and if someone else has had this happen to them, I didn't want them to think that they were crazy. Yes, I believe them. I asked my husband and 21-year-old if they had ever saw or heard anything now or in the past like this, and they said no. Okay, and the person says, I don't drink and never done any drugs. I'm normal, average, married wife of 23 years and mom of 49 years young. Has her own business as a decorator and lives in Central Florida. So yeah, I mean, it's not somebody that's appearing to be anything other than normal, but having a very profound experience. So I think that makes sense. I guess the color,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
So they weren't afraid.
Yeah.
They felt
Interlocking. Yeah. So
They-
acceptance or
right. They didn't
Yeah.
feel afraid. They felt
security.
right. So I think that's cool. Maybe there is something to the colors. Who knows? But anyway, that was the first story, and I think a good one. A good way to start it out. Now, I did come across another one that I thought was kind of cool, but let me see if I can find it here quick. Let me look at the clock first, because I don't want to go over. No, we got plenty of
Oh,
time.
we got 10 minutes. Okay.
Plenty of time.
Okay.
I'm going to see if I can find it. It was something about a black one. The black glob? Well, that's not really an orb, though. Blue glowing hollow circle.
Oh.
Let's look at this one. I'm not sure what a blue glowing hollow circle is, but it sounds like an orb. It was just before 3 a.m.-ish, and I was still wide awake, reading books on my iPad. And it was a comedy book, so at one point it was too much to handle, so I clicked my pod off and started to laugh. After some wheezing and calming myself down, it was about to pick up my iPod again, but something unexpected happened. A hollow blue circle, which appeared to be almost on fire, was shot towards me. It was as fast as a bullet, and I tried to get away, but I was the most scared I've ever been and only managed to flinch back around 2 centimeters trying to get away. When it hit me, I felt as if someone socked me in the stomach, and a hand was squeezing my heart, painfully, along with not being able to breathe and my ears both popping loudly and only being able to hear really loud static and different pinches of noise, which hurt my ears a lot. Essentially, every part of me was in pain, and when it stopped, a few seconds later, it didn't come back, and all I could do was cry. Eventually, in the morning, when I got in the car with my mom to drive me to school, I just broke and started crying because I don't believe in any of this and felt like I was losing my sanity. She asked what was wrong, so I stopped crying and never told because after all, she would think I was crazy. So I just said I had the most effed up night in my life, and she let it go. I searched for an explanation, could find none. Logically, I have no clue. My house is over 150 years old, and my room, the master bedroom my parents made the dining room theirs, has 4 brick walls and no windows or mirrors. It seems illogical to me as to where the light would have come from. Overall, does anyone have any explanation for what happened? Because Google is pretty useless. That's very strange. I don't know, but that's doesn't necessarily sound like an orb per se, but it seems they caught some manifestation of energy.
Right. You know, it says here blue is spiritual associated with psychic energy and truth. So, you know, the only thing I could think there is psychic energy. Maybe it was, you know, maybe a supposed alleged psychic attack, but that wouldn't make sense because blue is calming, and some feel it's a presence of a spirit guide. If I'm going by what I've read,
Right.
so you know, I mean, if it socks you in the stomach and constricts your heart, that's not a good thing.
No, it doesn't seem to be. That definitely seems like some form of attack, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
But this one is called orb spotting. Let's see what this one says. This incident occurred in the summer of 2011. I was pregnant with my second child, and my husband and I were staying at my mother's apartment. It was late one night, and we were the only 2 people home. We had made a pallet in the floor of the living room and were watching TV. Now, the apartment is a small 2-story. When you walk in, you find yourself in the living room, and there is a large entryway directly in front of you that leads to the kitchen. To your left, there is a staircase against the wall that leads to the second floor, where there are 2 bedrooms. There's a big window on the same wall as the door. So we're laying on the floor a few feet from the stairs under the window. There are no lights on, and the windows and curtains are all closed. My husband is beside me, closest to the stairs, and I'm laying there when suddenly I see a ball of light moving back and forth along the bottom of the wall at the base of the stairs. I ignore it, thinking it must be a reflection, but then it bounces around again and shoots up the staircase. My husband jumps in surprise and then looks at me. I asked him if he saw it, and he says yes. I asked what he saw, and he tells me a light. I jump out of bed and turn the lights on. Not 10 minutes later, my mom and her girlfriend came home, and we're sitting around talking when I remember what we saw. I start by saying, "Oh my gosh, we saw something creepy while you were gone." Before I could finish, my mom's girlfriend says, "That little ball of light? Guess you weren't crazy after all."
Huh.
So apparently it's been observed by many people, but they don't go into the color of it. But again, nothing nefarious happened either, or good. It just something made itself known.
Right.
Yeah, very strange.
Hmm.
Very, very strange. But yeah, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. These things are not, they're not unheard of with the naked eye, and every one of these accounts so far has been with the naked eye.
Right.
So let's see. Blue lights at in-laws farm. That sounds good.
Go for it.
Want to hit? Here go.
Say it. Say it out loud.
I'm saying it, dude. I'm saying it. Let's see how long it is. Yeah, we're okay, aren't we still? Checking the time. We got 4 minutes. I can do it.
I concur.
My mother and father-in-law took their big European trip in the summer of 2014, leaving the farm, their sprawling lake property in southwest Michigan, unattended. My wife and sister-in-law took care of it most of the chores while their parents were gone, taking turns feeding the animals, checking the mail, and taking care of a number of other chores. During a midweek day off from work, I volunteered my friend Dustin and myself for farm duties. We completed the chores as quickly as possible and then grilled some food and enjoyed the lake for a couple of hours. We returned to the house shortly before dusk to make sure we didn't forget anything, checking the chore list in the kitchen. This is around the same time things started to feel weird. I began to feel very on edge and took a seat in the sunroom. It felt as if a weight came down on the house. The fear I was experiencing was real, but I had no indication of why and why I was feeling it. Dustin entered the sunroom and sat across from me on the couch. He had a nervous look on his face and asked, "What is it?" And I told him I didn't feel right. We sat there for a while, and I'm not sure how long, nervously talking. Dustin became almost tearful at one point, disclosing paranormal stories from his childhood involving some sort of entity in his bedroom. It felt like something bad was going to happen any minute, but what? Then it happened. I noticed the strangest lights I've ever seen just outside of the door, near the top of the porch. It looked like dozens of brilliant blue laser lights moving in multiple directions. It was totally dark outside, and I couldn't make out the source of the light. I needed this to be something rational, something I could explain away. So I popped up and started heading towards the door, and Dustin stopped me abruptly, shouting, "Sit down." I complied with his request and took my seat, and we sat there in the sunroom for a few more minutes, talking and even joking about what just happened. The mood eventually lifted, and we headed home. It wasn't until later that day I fully understood the high strangeness of that light. Dustin and I talk about the incident from time to time at work, and it's Dustin's view of the light that provides the most interesting account. He was facing me, and his back was to the spinning laser lights. What he witnessed was a large blue box, which was perfectly formed with no light spilling over the edges. He explains it had more lines or boxes moving inside the main box, and it moved from right to left, appearing to scan the wall and me. He states that it was the most brilliant blue and fully illuminated everything it touched. He later told me that he fully expected something ghostly or alien to enter the room after the light, hence his demands to sit down. Any input into the strange experience would be appreciated. I got nothing to input. Don, you?
Not me.
No. Yeah.
'Cause that one...
That sounds more extraterrestrial or some kind of UFO-ish kind of thing, which is, definitely plausible as well. But I'm not sure that it fits into this subject.
Yeah, no, I don't think
so much, but an interesting story nonetheless. But we're down to about a minute here. Just about a minute before the break comes in. But I want to put it out there to, if you have not, please visit us on YouTube, youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, and subscribe and check out the videos there. We've been doing the Paranormal Portal streams on YouTube now for just about a year, and we're getting there anyway. And if you want to check out some past episodes, there are tons of episodes up there, and we hope you check them out, and we hope you like what you see. We take a lot of love and pride doing the show, and we're really trying to grow our YouTube presence to help accommodate the growth of the whole show. So we hope you'll check it out, and definitely find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio, and find us at Twitter. I'm starting to get into Twitter now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a really slow adopter. I'm only about 10 years back on this one, but I've been getting into Twitter. I kind of like it now, so I've been retweeting things that I've found, and they're pretty hilarious. I'm tweeting. Can you believe? I'm a tweeter. So I got that going for me, but pretty soon I'll close my MySpace account or something.
Oh.
Just kidding. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back for our second hour of the show. Don't go away.
looks extraordinarily bad.
They linger in a perpetual dream state, a nightmare from which they cannot wake. I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you? I've never sensed anything like it. like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeist are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the intro to the second hour of the Paranormal Portal. I'm Brent Thomas, your host, and I hope you're enjoying this ride through all things paranormal. And tonight the topic is spirit orbs and mists and other manifestations, as it were. And I think we've got some good information on the table and some interesting things to think about. I don't know. It's, of course, with anything in the paranormal, it's just ideas, it's just theories, it's just thoughts, reflections, I don't know, some summations of experience, whatever have you. And so nobody can say with any kind of precision what these things are or aren't. Are they spirits? Are they something else? I don't know. Maybe yes to all. I don't know. I just think it seems to me that a spirit orb is probably, again, the most efficient form a spirit can take without having to expend too much energy and yet show their presence. There's a reason that full-body manifestations are incredibly rare, and I think it has to do with the amount of energy the spirit has to expend in order to create that manifestation in our reality. So, whereas I think orbs are pretty easy to pull off. Now, I don't know how many of you out there watch shows like Ghost Adventures and whichever one you happen to watch. There are so many out there now. Great shows, and I'm not putting any of them down, but they do capture these weird anomalies of orbs. And now, sometimes these are as small as, like, literally the circular mass of an eraser flying around. And they're these little things, but so many times on shows like Ghost Adventures, they've had these static cams. And what static cam is just basically when you set up a camera in an area just to watch a specific area. It generally doesn't move. It just stays aimed someplace where they believe it's a paranormal hotspot where something could be happening soon. And what I have observed, and granted, I'm not in the editing room, so I don't know if this is just some colorful editing or whatever, but if they are being sincere in that they are portraying these events as they're recorded, then it's possible that a lot of spiritual activity could be the result of these little orb energies. So many times they'll have a static cam and they'll be investigating in some place near there, and they'll hear a big bang and they'll look around like, what was that? Or hear footsteps, look around, what was that? And they go to their static cam, review the footage. At the same time as they hear a bang on the wall, you watch this little light anomaly come up and hit the wall at exactly the same time, creating the sound. Is that possible that they can manifest these sounds? Or an orb going down a hallway at the same time as footsteps are heard? Mm-hmm. Are they able to manifest the energy of those sounds to, spook people out and try to freak them out? And, the answer is maybe. I don't know. But it's certainly something that I've seen. And it may, on the other side of it, it makes you feel like, wow, they're afraid of something this big. The old third grade thing, like, oh, are you afraid of someone this big? And then you shoot it at their face, and if they blink, oh, you're afraid of something this big, which in my head was hilarious. I don't know, it didn't work out as well as I hoped here on the show, but the idea is that these are little itty bitty tiny balls of light, and they're making these big sounds, these, maybe knocking pieces of wood over or whatever. And if that is the case, it seems kind of silly to be so frightened of it. But then again, we don't really understand what they are, and that certainly doesn't necessarily portray the whole of whatever this entities are. But very interesting. Just, me thinking about this whole topic as we go. We're also covering these stories tonight, going through some stories of orbs and what people have experienced, and I think that they're pretty good. Now, here's the one on black orbs that I was looking for. And earlier in the show, Don went over a list talking about what the author of that list says could be, generally held ideas of what the colors of orbs mean. Now, black doesn't necessarily equate to malevolent or evil. It just means what, Don?
Where to go? I'm on the page. I just need to find that particular piece of information.
Sure, just black ones, yeah.
Green, because it was black and brown. Okay, black or brown. Spiritually, many feel black or brown colors are associated with lower spiritual vibrations or high energy. Some people interpreted this as evil, although that isn't necessarily the case. When black or brown orbs appear, some investigators interpret them as a sign that the area may be unsafe or negative.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's read this story and see what their experience with the black orbs was. I was spending a night at my mom's house, and me and my sister stayed up late to talk. I was sitting on a rocking chair in the middle of the living room while she was sitting to the left of me on the couch. She was telling me stories about being a witch and casting spells, and I told her that I really didn't believe in magic spells or things like that. Right after I said that, I felt something light flutter across the top of my hand. I thought it was a moth or bug that had landed on my hand. I looked down, and there was a black comet-shaped thing. It traveled down the length of my arm, and I didn't see it anymore. The only way I can think to describe it is the black smoke like on Harry Potter when the Death Eaters are flying around, except this was really small, about as big as a golf ball, but with the tail trailing behind it. I asked my sister if she saw anything, and she said, "While you were talking, this black thing appeared in front of you, went over your hand and down your arm, and then went down to the floor and disappeared." I just started to get scared, so I jumped up and sat beside her, but then I started thinking about it touching me, so I decided to wash off my hands to get rid of that feeling. And as I started walking towards the kitchen, my hair started to stand up. I turned around and sat down by her again. It was probably one of the scariest things to happen to me.
Really?
I'm new at this stuff, so I'm not sure how long these posts are supposed to be, and there's apparently other experiences this person has had, but very wild. So is that match up with your description, do you think? It could.
It could.
Yeah, it's maybe a loosely that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well,
a lower
it's-
vibration, so it could be,
Yeah.
more of a lower vibrational entity.
But now let's define lower vibrational entity.
What I mean by that is like, remember when we were talking about the Dead Files and Amy Allen
Right.
experienced those large rat-like things that were
Right.
outside of this building, forcing negative energy in and keeping the negative energy from leaving, so just making it build up. Now, those I would assume to be lower vibrational entities, that they were being commanded or compelled by this magical force to do whatever the bidding was. So that's, things along that nature is what I'm thinking
Okay.
of. When could be some demonic entities, could be lower vibrational entities, perhaps shadow people. I don't know, but very interesting.
Yeah.
So it could be in that regard when you're talking about lower vibrational entities that he was just mocking the whole spellcasting magic thing,
Sure, yeah.
and then this little black mass went down his arm and freaked him out. So I don't know. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully that person was okay after that, but that's certainly pretty terrifying, I imagine. So that's a black orb. Let me just check and see. Are we missing anything? Nope, we have no calls in the queue. And ladies and gentlemen, the call board is open, so apparently I have joined the chat on TFR. I was already in there, but apparently I joined the chat now again.
Oh,
So
there you are.
there I am.
No. That says Thomas, not Brent Thomas.
Oh, it does, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
Thomas came in. Hi,
Oh,
Thomas.
Thomas.
Thomas
Oh,
and TFR. How the heck are you?
hey, Thomas TFR. All right. I thought that said Brent Thomas. That's what I get for paying attention. All right. So did you have anything else you wanted to read, Don?
No, not right off.
Okay.
I'm enjoying your stories that you're finding. So.
Well, wonderful. I'm enjoying reading them to you as well. So it's what I take joy in. This is called Seeing an Orb. Last night I saw an orb, and I just laid down for maybe a half an hour, and all of a sudden I see this bright light, eyes closed, and I felt something sit on my bed. I literally felt the bed indenting and some kind of pressure on me. I was instantly shook, kind of scared me. I got up and felt that someone had just died or almost died, but I don't know who it was. It happened about 2 to 4 a.m., and I began to pray for the spirit. I knew they needed prayers, and I also felt the spirit was looking right through me. And I'm not sure if it was a negative spirit or if I just felt scared because it's simply scary to come in contact with spirits. But then my mother tells me today that she actually saw the orb at around the same time as she walked down the stairs. She described it as gold on the outside with an orange and red center.
Huh.
I just want to know who it is or what it means. I want to know if I can help them or how to help them. I'm also curious as to know if it's some kind of warning. Sometimes before about 2 weeks prior, I dreamed that a family member died, and he actually flashed through my mind at the time. And I also felt like the orb was trying to hide, almost like it wasn't trying to scare me. I saw a shadow behind my door of a person standing there hiding. It took all the strength in me to pray, asking my higher power to heal the spirit, give them what they needed to bring back what was lost, to show them the right path. I ended up being up all night praying, wondering about why it happened, and I also felt scared. I just simply couldn't sleep after that, one bit. It made me on alert, and I wasn't sure if it was the negative spirit. It scared me slightly. So, cool. Very weird.
Doesn't line up with the information I read. Now, as I said, these are what some people believe, but she said it was golden with an orange center, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a piece of candy.
They're chewy on the inside.
Oh, goodness. What is she doing?
I don't know. What is he doing?
Gosh.
That's weird.
Yeah, so, but then again, it's all, without being there to experience it, you have no frame of reference except from that person. So,
right.
Who knows what that would have been.
Now, that's an interesting one. I probably want to read this, but I want to read this one because it kind of sounds like it ties into last night's show a little bit. It's called The Orb, A Cat's Tale.
Ooh.
In 1992, I lived alone in an apartment and adopted a cat named Jasper. He lived for 15 years before dying of old age, and he was my only pet during that time. Jasper was a large Maine Coon, M-A-I-N-E, Coon, C-O-O-N, but without the laid-back personality. He was short-tempered and strong-willed, but we understood each other. I loved him and he loved me. I used to imagine in a previous life he was a terrible pirate that was forced to come back as a cat as punishment. When I married in 1997, it took years before Jasper fully accepted my husband, and even then, it was probably the guitar that won him over. Alan would pick up the guitar and pluck a single string, and wherever Jasper was, he would come running to sit at Alan's feet and tap his tail in time with the music. I've never known a cat to be a devoted music lover, but he was. We had some wonderful concerts, Alan, Jasper, and me. Jasper didn't like people much, but he loved other cats. I kept him as an indoor pet because we lived on a busy street. Kitty leukemia was rampant, and our neighborhood was full of large dogs, and he would have lived a very short life if I had let him outside. But you can't explain that to an animal. Sometime he would just sit in the bay window. If a stray cat came into the yard, Jasper would meow and want to be friends so badly he would physically shake. I felt terrible for him, keeping him isolated, but it was necessary for his safety. Eventually Jasper passed away and we got another cat, a Bengal named Mickey. And let me just switch over to that. A Bengal named Mickey. Hold on, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, Moki, M-O-K-I. Moki doesn't care for music one way or the other. His favorite thing is playing Pillowfoot. Alan will strum the guitar while I arrange a sofa pillows into a fort for Moki to hide in and pounce on and knock apart. It's fun for everyone. One evening we were playing in the living room as usual, and I decided to take a few photos. I was surprised on one image to see what looks like an orb flying past Moki. I wasn't aware of it until I saw the photo, and I don't claim to understand orbs in any way, but I like to think Jasper came back to enjoy the music and finally has a kitty friend to play with. This photo makes me very happy. It is sweet. I don't know. Don't know what it could be.
No,
Nope.
because that could just be a. Well, it could just be. Well, let me read something else too, real quick.
Okay.
Where did I see it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so orbs are very common in paranormal photography and video. In digital photography, orbs are known as an artifact of the process. The Association for Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena, the ASSAP, the ASAP,
Okay.
explains that this is their case study on zone orb theory. In the case of digital and film photography, where the orbs appear, this is often associated with the subtle coloring of the camera's lens. Other items can cause orbs to appear, including reflective surfaces, dust, rain, water spots, and bugs. In video, infrared light can be reflected off the same object and give them a lighted orb appearance. So, now, they were obviously taking a picture of the cat when they saw the orb.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody see the orb but her?
Nobody saw it except in the photo.
Except in the photo.
Right. It was only
Okay.
visible in the photo.
So, you could go to the supposed flying cryptid type. What are they? We talk about them every now and then.
Rods?
Air rods, right.
Yep.
Air rods, a lot of photos of air rods have been proven to be bugs in flight. So, it just feeds right into the other items can cause orbs to appear. The last one they say is bugs. So, could it be a flying bug that went by and reflected the light off the flash?
It's possible.
So, it looks like a streak with an orb in front of it.
Mhm.
Okay. Do orbs leave contrails?
I have not noticed them when I've witnessed them, but the first one I saw moved so slowly that
There was no contrail
there was
to
no
have.
there was no contrail to leave. It was just like literally lazily drifting by my face. And the next one I saw, again, I was just awake. I was awake for maybe 10 minutes and walking into the kitchen when I just saw it glide along the floor and literally go around the corner. I saw it, and then it went by my legs and was gone. So neither time I felt freaked out or anything. It was just like, oh, wow, The first time I actually thought about grabbing it, but then thought that might be the singular most stupid thing I ever thought of doing, and decided against it. So
Right.
because I can't imagine they would want to be grabbed much. So, but yeah, it was strange. But I don't know. And those things are all strong possibilities, and that's what I mean. It's got to be scrutinized at least a little bit,
Right.
because there are a lot of people that want to believe, and that's a wonderful thing. But I think the desire to believe shouldn't outweigh the need to make it pass at least a little bit of criteria.
Right.
A little bit of scrutiny. I don't mean it has to be a lab study, but at least
Right.
try to negate all of the most obvious culprits. And if you still have an orb after going through what it could be,
Congratulations.
then congratulations, you may very well have captured a spirit orb, which is by no means a small feat. That's a huge thing. But I think they're much rarer than most people think.
Yeah.
So,
I think so too.
Yeah. So this is a different one that I wanted to read, and it's called The Dark Orb and the Tall Shadow Man.
Oh.
This one kind of sounds creepy, but we'll get into it and see if it is indeed creepy. I've got 6 minutes, yeah. Should be okay. All right. In April 2013, I was pregnant and about to have a baby. My husband had 2 kids from a previous marriage, and we decided we needed a bigger home. We found an older home for rent that was in our price range and had enough bedrooms for everyone. The house had a creepy vibe to it. It was an older house that had been remodeled and had an add-on space in it. It just felt like I was being watched sometimes. On several occasions, I would see a dark mass. The mass was the size of a soccer ball, and it was black. The first time I had seen it, I was lying in bed, and a dark, floating round ball of darkness flew down the hallway in my bedroom and towards the master bath.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all kinds of creepy. The second time I saw this massive darkness, I was coming home from the gym. As soon as I placed my baby on the floor of the living room, it took off into the laundry room. My small dog that barely ever barks saw it too. He jumped out of the chair and went to the laundry room barking and growling at something, but nothing was there. It lasted 2 or 3 minutes. It was so odd. He was flipping out like we had an intruder in our home. The dark orb became a normal occurrence. The main places I would see the orb was in my baby's room. Oh, Jesus.
God.
That's so bad. And areas of the house that were not frequently used as much. When I would see this, it would take off like it was scared, as if I had scared it away. I have seen it go through walls and windows and up the stairs as well as into the basement. The sighting of this orb started to get less frequent after my aunt did some cleansing thing with oil in our house. She prayed and put oil in the doorway, and also no one else was seeing the orb but me and the dog. And after she did the cleansing, I did not see anything for over a year. One night I was washing a baby bottle by hand in the middle of the night, and I felt something looking at me. And I turned around to look over my shoulder, and an outline of a man was standing behind me. It was a dark mass shaped like a man that was over 6 feet tall and wearing a hat. Ooh, the shadow hat man. Ooh. I saw this very clearly. The lights in the kitchen were turned on. The hat looked like a cowboy hat. I booked it out of the kitchen. I never told anyone that I had seen the man until my stepson came to me and told me that he has been seeing a shadow figure outside of his room. What is creepy about him seeing the man was that he told me the figure stood as tall as his doorway. I believe him. He had no idea I was also seeing the shadow man. We moved out of that house recently, and I have not seen the shadow man or the dark mass since moving. Anyone know what it is? Thanks. Yeah. Well, I'm guessing it's probably not someone you want hanging around. I don't know. I mean, nothing really bad happened, right?
But it's scary in and of itself,
right.
Just that thought.
The manifesting as a dark object already, even if it's just a ball, it's a big ball, and it's dark, and it's around your house. It didn't sound like they were really creeped out until that figure was behind her, just kind of staring. And that's just, I don't know, knowing that it was hanging out in my baby's room, it would be game over at that point. I mean, I'd be pulling priests in there by their neck, like, get rid of this, no, forgive me, I'm not meaning to be a dick, but you know what I mean. It's just,
it's a protective thing.
Right. That's one thing you just don't play with because you don't know. And it's hard to know, but it's already appearing as a dark mass. It's appearing as a shadow thing. And I know that a lot of spirits will choose to be a shadow figure so as not to be noticed or to not freak people out for whatever reason. But I guess they feel that they blend into the darkness better that way. But yeah, it's just, I don't know if you want to throw those dice. I'd love to think that it was just a sweet presence that was keeping an eye on everything, but I'd be leaning towards the
door.
Let's get it purged. Yeah, or the door. Right, exactly. Yeah, there's just some things I wouldn't play with, and one is the safety of my child.
Yeah, definitely not.
So let's see. These are all shadow stories, and those are wonderful too. But that's another show. We're doing orbs. We's doing orbs here tonight. So anyway,
check your time.
Check my time.
Check your time.
I got 1 minute and 20 seconds.
All right.
Which is about a minute, actually. Till the break, so I guess we're really cruising through the night, aren't we?
We are. We're at third break already, huh?
We're at third break. My God, where's the time go, ladies and gentlemen? maybe maybe we need to do 3-hour shows.
Oh goodness! And
As the
chat
portal
room-
grows, we'll maybe
and
consider
the
such
chat
things.
room will start blowing up here in a second.
It does seem like, does it not seem like 2 hours? Just
I know. Yeah, it's
you
not,
blink
it's
and
just
they're over. My
doesn't
God.
seem long enough anymore.
I know. We just
Gosh.
get these half hours just blink by, and it feels like we haven't really covered as much as I want to. But, anytime the discussion is good, the stories are good, the thought, the participation is good, especially on last night's show. We had some
Yeah.
brilliant participation by you guys out there. It really makes the night fly, but doing the portal is just amazing, and it's been an amazing experience. So we're going to take our last break of the night, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go away. We'll be back for more of the Paranormal Portal, and hopefully you'll be sticking around to join us for this last half hour of fun. And we'll see you on the other side.
The other side.
The other side of the break, not of life.
Gotcha.
We'll save that for a later journey.
The ayahuasca.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not talking yet. I'm not talking yet. I am finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise. You're just another fucking gas. Taking off the slice of my sanity. Just make sure that you're well fed.
Is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, for the last half hour of our show. Can you believe it? It has just flown. My God.
It has.
Oof.
Like an orb across your vision.
That was at least on topic. I got to give you
you
credit
go.
for that. But yeah, we are cruising the night away. It's already the last half hour of the show. It's
It's
2
the other
hours goes
side.
so quick. This is the other side, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Welcome to the other side. I hope you like it. I believe there's cookies being served somewhere.
Come to the dark side.
Yeah.
We've got cookies.
That's right. Well, it's another side anyway. But
Pixie fell asleep again.
did she? Well, she's a tired girl, I guess.
Yeah, you know, those wings flapping around everywhere, you know, it gets you tired.
That's just her typing, her wings flapping.
Oh.
So,
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know. Just my summation of it. But we are talking tonight about spirit orbs and other manifestations of spirits, and this can be mists, and we've really only covered orbs. I guess I should have just kept it at spirit orbs and call it a day, because that's really about all we've had time to cover. But these stories are good, and I think it's really cool to compare it with some information out there, as Don brought to the table, this information he had found regarding the colors of orbs and what they could mean. And we are comparing that with some of these accounts and encounters that we're reading tonight. And I think it's very, very cool. Some of it seems to line up, and others of it maybe not as much. But again, the article did state that it's, just widely held beliefs. It's not necessarily the only answer, but let's see. This one is Orbs in the Cemetery. So let's get into another story and see what we find out. All right. I didn't read this one. Okay, I always think back on this moment in my life, and although I am older now, I still strain to find a meaning of my experience. I was 12 years old, and I often went to my friend's house down the street. We took the back alley to each other's houses, and between us, there was a cemetery that we were very used to walking through. On a regular night of playing at her house, I decided it was time to go home because it was only getting darker, and even though I thought I was tough at 12, I was actually scared of walking by myself in the dark. My friend walked me halfway like usual, which meant that we usually said our goodbyes in the middle of the cemetery. Wow.
Wow.
We headed out the sliding doors into the back of her house and headed for the alley that connected to the cemetery. And as we were talking, and everything seemed completely normal, we got 2 steps into the cemetery's grass, and we both stopped dead in our tracks and stared above us. Nothing was said to each other, and I don't remember hearing anything at all. It just seemed like everything just fell silent. Above our heads, about 5 feet, there were 2 orbs, possibly the size of beach balls. My God, those are huge.
Wow.
These balls began to shine bright, so bright you almost had to look away, and then it would dim. This happened for almost 2 minutes, and you would have thought that we would have taken off running, but I couldn't move. I remember being so frightened that my legs just did not work for a few minutes. All of a sudden, the orb started flashing between bright and dim at a faster pace, and the faster it got, the more scared we became. We finally took off running back to her house, where we discussed what we just saw and made sure neither of us had lost our minds. We confirmed the same story, and we both just never understood why this had happened. I called my mom and told her what had happened, and she laughed and picked me up. So much support.
Gosh. I'm loved.
What love, yeah. I don't feel that it was there to hurt us, but to scare us, to turn around and go back. And in my heart, I think it was a warning. Perhaps danger could have been up ahead and something stopped us in our tracks and warned us to go in the opposite direction. The orbs only started going crazy with flashes when we wouldn't move, almost like it was saying, "Get out of here and leave now." I think about this situation sometimes and finally decided to let my story out because I do not care what anyone says. Mysterious things are out there, and we only understand half, if not less, of what is around us.
Oh, I think we understand a whole lot less than that.
Yeah. Well, I got to give her credit for, if she's still young, I don't know.
Yeah.
But she says she was 12 when it happened. So,
Hey, I found an interesting thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ghostly mist and ghost hunting. We're going to skip the ghost hunting part. We're going to go with the ghostly mist.
Okay.
We've all seen it. The fog that hugs a person haunted by a spirit, a loved one, or something else. Now, mist can indicate the presence of the supernatural. It's also likely to be someone's breath. Here's how to interpret a ghostly mist in your picture. About ghostly mists. Now here you're going to like this. Ghostly mists, also called ecto-mists, have a long history in paranormal research. You've seen the thick gel slimy stuff coming out of spiritual mouths before. Those are fake, like ectoplasm, and like on Ghostbusters simply doesn't exist. However, a fog that gently surrounds a suspected haunt could be something. Ecto-mist is a ghost in an unusual manifestation. It's not strong enough to form an orb or an apparition, so it looks like fog. You don't see these with the naked eye. You find them in photos taken during an investigation. They can look like heavy fog or a fine mist. Dense fog versions are close to forming a ghost light or apparition. Why? In most cases, they don't have the energy to pull themselves together as a ghost light or apparition. You could help by using EMF pods to generate an electromagnetic charge for them. Some people say ghost mists have facial characteristics when closely examined. I'd say that's hit or miss. If a facial features are in proportion and it looks like a human face, then you may have something. Otherwise, it's probably a matrix. Ecto-mist can happen any time of the day. They're just as likely to appear during the day as they are at night. They also follow the same color patterns as orbs. Most are white, but they can appear as gray, pale blue, light green, light red, or pink. You may want to check for mists in areas where known apparitions or ghost lights appear. There's a connection. The place may be a ghost portal, and this helps the weaker ghosts manifest as mists. Unlike the orbs or apparitions you find, ecto-mists tend to linger for more than a few minutes, and they can grow. They also appear anywhere. It could be a cemetery, the woods, a brand new apartment building. Ghosts really don't understand the current world, so they hold on to the site. That's why you can find them in places you wouldn't expect. Don't forget, ghosts may be attached to a person, so the place doesn't matter. There you go.
Very cool. That's a really cool description and attempt at explaining it. And they could be right. I don't know. Maybe the mist is the least energetic form of all.
They could be crazy.
I don't know. But you know, I've seen footage taken that I think is potentially credible. One of which happened in an old dungeon of an old castle. This group was touring through, and it's an older video. I believe it was from an old castle, but it was from an old building anyway. And this was reportedly a haunted place. But as the group was going through, and there was an old camcorder there, this weird flowing fog kept coming in and out of the rooms, and it went in and out of about 3 different shots, and it would kind of come around, swirl, and then come by the camera, and you see all these little speckles in it. But they said there was no breeze down there, no moving air at all. But this clearly came in and went out of the shots over and over. Wow. And it seemed to have an intelligence. And so perhaps that was, just all the energy it had to manifest how it was manifesting, but very peculiar. I think there is something to this. I know the ancient Druids believed that fogs were very mystical.
Oh, yeah.
There were many rituals that were designed to be used during fogs because they believed that this was the appropriate time to try to cast what was called a gateway spell. Right. And the trick, though, was that you could gain access to the other side, the netherworld or whatever. But if you went in there, you had never touch anything. You can never touch anything, because if you do, you'll be stuck. But you also have to get back out before the fog dissipates on your side. If you don't, you'll be trapped. Whoa. And so it's one of those things that how long is this going to stick around? You want to roll those dice again. I don't know what benefits they would get by going there, because they couldn't grab anything, couldn't take anything, because it would be a very cursed object if it was brought back, and so it was certainly not worth it, whether karmically or otherwise, to do so. But if they didn't make it back, or if their candle went out, If their candle was blown out for any reason, they would also never find their way back and be trapped. So,
Oh, okay. So their candle was like the
beacon.
proverbial,
Yep.
the beacon or the breadcrumbs. Gotcha.
Well, it was the light that they had to, to
Right.
keep an eye on the
gotcha.
candlelight.
Gotcha.
If the candle went out or if the fog dissipated, the gateway would automatically close, and it was game over for the wayward druid. So, don't cast gateway spells.
Please don't.
Did you move something?
Yeah, I moved my foot.
Oh, did you pull that? Yeah, I've got the cord under me pulled, and I was like, how the hell did that happen?
That would be me.
Yeah, that was you, Don.
It's not.
It was
it's
Don.
Not, it's not paranormal. It's just Don and normal.
Oh, you're plenty paranormal,
Oh,
Don.
well, yeah. I'll
I'm
take
honestly not a spooked out person, so when this stuff happens, I'm not spooked. I'm just trying to understand what it was that I just felt on my foot.
Well, I'm kind of amazed that nobody's noticed that there's a light. If you look at the YouTube, there's a light right in the center of my face, and it blinks. I'm waiting for somebody to say something about that.
What is it?
It's the reflection of the candle.
On your screen and then
On
back
my
on your
screen.
face?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because it's flickering with the candle.
Oh, funny. Yeah, I guess that is flickering, isn't it? Is that little door shut on the candle?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't usually glow that brightly.
Well, that's because I pulled it forward a little more so you could see it.
Oh.
And I've been doing that last couple, so.
I've noticed the light was real nice. The lighting was really nice, so nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, well then let's move along. And thanks for covering that. That's very interesting about the mists. I guess I could look for a mist story to build that into the other manifestations. This one's called Curly Smoke. This one might be cool. Let's read Curly Smoke, see what that's all about. It was 1987, and we were living in Pinner Midleys, England, Middlese. Quiet road with mock two-door houses, and our experience occurred one evening in our lounge. It was dark, the curtains were drawn, tableside lamps were on, and we were watching television. My wife, Monica, was sitting in an armchair opposite me. Between us, our cat, Claude, was curled up asleep on the poof, P-O-U-F-E, poof, pouff? I don't know what that word is. The TV was to my left, and to my right was the lounge continued into the dining room with the doorway to the hall and kitchen. And this is coming from the United Kingdom, so those are some of the different words that I don't quite understand. I caught sight of something moving to my right and turned to look directly at it. It was a cloud of thick smoke-like stuff turning and flowing in and on itself, rather like a thick cigar smoke. The smoke curled across the room, moving very slowly, hovering just above the floor at ankle height. I shouted across to Monica, "Hey, can you see that? Look." Monica watched it with me as it drifted towards Cloud. He woke up and sat up, and anyone who has a cat knows what a hello is like. It's a purr mixed with a meow at the same time. Cloud made the cat hello sound as the curly smoke drifted right into him, but did not go past him. It just entered him and stopped. He was not afraid, and there was no change in him after the event. Monica and myself were amazed at what we had just witnessed. We saw it, but still do not understand it. We never saw anything like it again. So there it is, our true experience several years prior to the event. We lost our cat Mogsy to a road accident. He was a fantastic creature and always had fun and games in his life. He even used to chase dogs for fun and enter a neighbor's house, go upstairs, out of the bathroom window, and slide down the roof as his extension for fun. Great cat.
Wow.
We wondered if it was Mogsy coming to visit Claude. We still don't understand what we saw, but we did, all three of us, see it.
Huh.
Very cool story, and yeah, I don't know. Again, that's that nebulous smoke. What is it? What could it mean?
Right.
Is it a person? Is it a nature spirit? Is it an elemental? Is it something else?
Right.
Something divine? Something dark? I don't know. But clearly Claude the cat, which animals are a great barometer of spiritual energy, and if it's something negative, they'll respond in kind. So
Right.
I think dogs tend to be a little more like, oh crap, something's moving, bark, 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 bark.
Right.
You know, whereas cats, I think, are probably more charged to the emotion of it.
So you're saying dogs are alarmists?
Right. Yeah. They're just like, hey, hey, what are you? Hey, 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 hey. You know.
That's awesome.
Right. So anyway, I think that cats are probably a little more good indicators of a positive versus negative charge.
Right.
But just my 2 cents. I don't know. I could be wrong too. So now next one is haunted smoke pit.
Huh.
Let's see. And the next one is smoke and ghost in cold spots. That one looks good too. But let's see the haunted smoke pit. It's me again. I just had an interesting experience while I was out for a smoke the other night, and I thought I would put it up here again. So, because of safety reasons, we're not allowed to smoke inside the dorms and any of the buildings on the base, for that matter, so they have designated smoking areas a few yards outside of each building. And yes, I know I'm a smoker and that stuff will kill you, right? Well, I just can't quit cold turkey, and I've also brought it down to only 1 canister stick for each break instead of 5 like I used to, so I'm on a slow path to quitting, just taking a little time. Anyway, the smoke pit we have just outside of our dorms, it's a large cement square in the middle of a grass field, and there's a basketball hoop on the far end. And the other end, there are picnic tables and trash cans where people will sit and have a smoke. So the other night, at just before 11, I went outside for a smoke. I didn't have to get up earlier for work the next day because it was a free day off for me, so I had plans to watch movies all night with some friends. So as I sat there having a smoke, the street light, which is the only thing illuminating the smoke pit, suddenly went out. The moon was half full, so there was still some light, and the dim lights coming from the windows in the dorms gave off some illumination as well. So I ignored it and kept having my relaxed smoke when I heard something scratching across the pavement on the basketball court. There are a lot of skunks and stray cats around here, but there was nothing that I could see. I ignored it and finished my smoke and headed back for the dorm when I felt someone brush past my, it says my, but I think he said me, as if someone walked up and behind me, bumped my shoulder as he ran ahead. But I didn't see anyone, and I looked around, but there was no one behind me. So I ignored it and went back to my room. Yep, just another weird experience. Plenty more to come, I'm sure.
Well, yep, definitely weird experience.
Definitely weird experience. I don't know what to make about that.
Check the phone lines.
Check the phone lines.
Check the phone lines.
Is there a call? There is. It's Mr. Naysay.
Mr. Naysay.
How you doing, Mr. Naysay? What's going on, brother? You got 8 minutes to talk to us.
Okay, I'm going to babble it quick. So you brought up something really incredible about the electromagnetivity. And if we look at the whole aspect of what is happening or occurring when we see something, our eyes or our orbs, or we ogle or oogle at frequency, at fields, a visual light spectrum.
Sure.
So if you think of the sphere as the ultimate Platonic solid, when we have that energy within ourselves, it starts at an initiating point. And as the light grows or glows, it expands from that center point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about our entities having that center point, and as we glow or grow, depending on the field that we're able to perceive with our eyes, is depending on what we're actually seeing. And so if these entities are trans-dimensional, or even there, the allegations are we only denote a certain percent of what we see. So if these entities all of a sudden realize we can see them, do they try to glow brighter or to expand more to where they show that silhouette? Because it's all that perspective of how we're looking at it.
Yeah, that's incredibly profound, and you could very well be right. That's a great way of looking at it. So we're just seeing a certain amount of that vibrational light spectrum when it's existing larger than that, but our ability to perceive it is limited. But do they focus more energy on what we're able to perceive as they notice us perceiving it? Wow.
Well, talk about the EMF, the electromagnetic. Do you think that would help bring them into fruition to widen that spectrum for us?
Well, I mean, the spectrum of the visual will be in our ability to tune in, because it's like that whole thing, like you buy a red car and all of a sudden you're seeing red cars all the time.
Yep.
When you have a radio, you have to fine tune into it. So if you have the ability, or you recognize or remember the ability to see a larger spectrum through your eyes, then as you tune into it, you are dialing into the electromagnetic, because everything is field.
Oh, gotcha.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great angle to spin it.
Science by Naysay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who needs Bill Nye? We got Mr. Naysay.
Well, the other thing that I threw in the chat there about Carlos Diaz had these incredible videos, but he called them UFOs, or they call them OVs or OVOs in Spanish.
Okay.
And they were these light, they call them proton ships. And they were like this illumination. But in his interviews, he describes these orbs, but they were well defined. You know, like if you see somebody flicking a bic in the nighttime, you know, like 100 yards from you, all of a sudden you see like the orb.
Right. Yep.
You know, you see a little ball.
Right.
You know, and depending on the color of it, it could be yellow, red, or blue.
Good point.
That is a good point, but I think your microphone...
There it went.
Yep, you're live.
And that's a great point, because that is the only light spectrum you see from those. So interesting. From the flame of the bic.
But it's
blue, yellow, or red.
Right. Well, yeah, that's the whole beauty of the whole spectrum of it. And like you were talking earlier about how each color could mean a different feeling and stuff. If you think of the yellow, you know, gets closer to the white, and that's that higher thing. And when we talk in a higher frequency as children, we always see children and we're all, hi, how are you? You know, we talk higher.
Right.
So we make them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be a higher light would make us feel better, where the lower and the darker would more scare us or bring us into a state of fear.
Hey, Naysay, one of our chatters asked, do they come from the fourth dimension? Sounds like what Carlos Cansada describes. So, Castaneda.
Well, this is the interpretation. Entities are everywhere, but we get caught into the dogma of what we've been grown up with, and we kind of poo-poo it because that's the standard. We poo-poo it. I believe that there are thousands of different entities that are there that are not only trans-dimensional, but are trans-galactical or universal. You know, because who's to know that the sun isn't a bunch of light energy entities that all live on the sun, and they're so brilliant and they're so bright, they shine up the rest of the solar system.
That's really interesting. That's a wonderful way of looking at it, and it's a whole new spin that's pretty unique to you, brother. I've never heard anybody spin it that way, but that's like I've always say about the paranormal. Any viewpoint is just as valid as the next, because it doesn't lend itself to easy study.
Right. Well, we're all miracles. We just tend to forget it all the time. Just look into the mirror and you see that visual spectrum through our googly ooglies. How is that not a miracle, people? I love you, miracles. Have a beautiful night. Thanks for keeping me up late again.
Hey, it's my pleasure, brother.
It's our fun that we have with you.
We love you, brother. Thanks for calling in, man.
You bet, Toodles.
Night, Naysay. Well, there you go.
Very cool.
A fresh viewpoint.
It is. And he always brings a unique spin to it too. It's nobody experiences the world quite like he does, but he always brings these unique viewpoints into great. I mean, he has a brilliant way of explaining them in ways that make sense, and a lot of times he connects a lot of dots and crosses a lot of T's that I just never would even notice. So he really does have a profound way of looking at things and making it make sense. So there's a reason I love talking to the guy.
Yep, absolutely.
So we are about done for the night.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's about it for the portal, ladies and gentlemen, and we love you, and we hope you've enjoyed our weekend of portal presentations, but stick around for Jimmy Jean Into the Microcosm coming up next, where Brandy and Rio will be joining Jimmy and doing what they do best, and that is keeping you informed and entertained and presenting all kinds of fun materials to you on Into the Microcosm coming up next on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, TalkStream. And we will be back on Wednesday night for more of the Paranormal Portal. And let's see, it's next Saturday Deb is on. Is that right?
Right,
The 25th?
yeah, the 25th, yeah.
25th, so a week from tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in to the Paranormal Portal, and we'll have our special guest, Mrs. Deborah Davenport, on, and she will be doing readings to callers of the show, so don't miss it.
There it is.
There it is. There's the bell. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice to each other. Take care of each other, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Paranormal Portal, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube only. So love you all. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Hi, my name is 10 years old.